Richard Commey against Teofimo Lopez. Appreciate this is a last minute video. It's actually the day of the fight. And I think this is a fight for maybe the kind of the boxing hardcore. It's not often that you see an undercard fight kind of eclipsing the main event, which I think this definitely does. Like, it's a very, very intriguing fight. There are a lot of people I really respect, like Ade. If you don't know Ade boxing, check out his channel. It's fantastic. But Ade picking Commey, a lot of kind of professional boxers picking Commey. And I guess a lot of it is coming from Lopez's last fight against Makitani. And I can't blame them. I can understand that. But for me, I'm going to go with Lopez by maybe mid to late round stoppage, which is a very bold statement to make considering that we've never seen Commey knocked out. His only losses come by two very narrow split decision losses. And I can understand why people might query why I would pick Lopez by KO, but let's talk through it and maybe, you can kind of see where I'm coming from. So in Commey's last fight against Ray Beltran, I think people were absolutely sold on him. If they didn't know who he was before, at least the hardcore, if they didn't know who he was, they would know after the Ray Beltran fight. He was imposing. He was very Paul Williams / Margarito-esque. Relentless, never stops throwing punches, throws all kinds of punches from all different angles, and he just doesn't stop. Generally speaking, anyway. And he fights a lot of his fights like that, and I have no doubt he'll be in the best condition of his life for Teofimo Lopez. The reason I'm picking Lopez primarily is because I think there's a level between Lopez and Commey. And I actually think that Lopez's last fight against Makitani is the fight that the British guy, Anthony Yarde, didn't have before he fought Kovalev. Didn't have that kind of distanced, hard-fought, awkward, disadvantaged in terms of size. He didn't have that fight. Lopez did have that fight, and he came through it, and he won quite clearly. I mean, I think we talk up the Makitani fight a little bit too much. I think he was unnecessarily harsh on himself. Yes, he was being caught with some punches, especially the overhand right. He kept eating it. But he won unanimously, and nobody queried the decision. All right, and he went 12 rounds. I think having that knowledge that Lopez can go 12 rounds and he can box it out if a guy can take his power, he's not going to panic because he's now experienced that. And for me, if he'd never fought Makitani, I would be far less high on him than I am. I think his power's real. I did query that he said in his post-fight Makitani interview that he wouldn't be fighting any more tall guys, which kind of puts to rest the idea of him moving up through the weights and, really kind of becoming like 2, 3, 4 weight world champion. And I'm sure that ESPN have high hopes of him kind of taking over or replacing Canelo as he gets older and moves out the picture. I think they were hoping that Lopez would kind of move in and snatch or kind of win over that Latino market. Maybe he still will, but maybe his opinion will change as he kind of regains confidence. But I was quite surprised to hear him come out and say that. It was a little bit like the Ortiz when he kind of quit. He's I'm too pretty, or I don't deserve this kind of punishment. You can't really throw the toys out the pram when you're like, he's too tall, it's not fair. Come on, man, we have weight divisions. I'm sure you've fought smaller guys than you. I didn't really like that, but he does have like a spite to his words. And he fights like he has a real kind of bee in his bonnet, like he's really pissed off at the world, which I quite like. And I think that Commey has never really fought someone of the level of Lopez. Now, I know that sentence sounds reversed. It should be Lopez that hasn't fought someone the level of Commey. But I think Makitani and Commey would be a great fight, by the way. But he came through Makitani, and Commey came, for me, a little bit unstuck against Easter. It was his first loss. He actually went back-to-back losses. Coming back from that, to me, shows remarkable fortitude for his actual kind of spirit and his personality, Commey, I mean. But his loss to Easter, he was hurt twice. He actually put Easter down, I think, in the 8th round, if I remember. A very, very glancing shot. I mean, it was literally his glove kind of grazed the canvas. And Easter was right back up on his feet, pushing Commey back into the rope. So, a little bit contentious, but regardless, Easter hurt him twice more as the fight went on. I think once 9th to the 10th, and then the 12th round, he really had Commey hurt. And he really did everything he can to get Commey out of there. And it's because of that and what I saw in the Beltran fight that, again, is culminating in my picking Lopez. I saw, just for a fraction, just for a moment in time, I saw Commey really flagging a little bit against Beltran. And I was waiting for Beltran to kind of come forward and started applying his own pressure, which he did and got caught with a counter and got knocked the fuck out. But I definitely saw a moment of hesitancy, a moment of kind of like open mouth, deep breathing from Commey, which I hadn't really seen before. He did fade a little bit against Easter as well, but there's just a moment I saw it against Beltran. And I wonder if it's the age combined with, maybe just the age and the frenetic pace that he fights at. But I think that when Lopez hits him, it might keep him a little bit more honest. Maybe not. Maybe Lopez is this hugely overinflated and overhyped individual that, we all get drunk on KO reels, and he does have some nice KOs. But for me, again, the Makatan fight was reaffirming. Even for a lot of people, it was always been exposed. For me, it was opposite to that. And whether or not you believe that he had a whole lot of personal reasons and opinions and all sorts of excuses for not being as good as he was, I think it was just more that Makatani was awkward and better than he expected. But I think, as I said, with that fight, what I saw in the Beltran fight, what I saw in the Easter fight, he also lost, Commey also lost a split decision to, what's the Russian's name? I think it's Shavakov? I think he went over to Moscow to fight him after the Easter fight and lost as well. At worst, I think that was a draw. I really think Commey won that fight, but either way, the records will state that Commey had back-to-back losses. And for him to come back from that shows a remarkable resilience, again, as I said. So he definitely has that internal fortitude, and I'm sure he's going to have to go there when Lopez hits him, because I think Lopez hits much harder than Ray Beltran, much harder than Easter Jr., and I think that he's really going to find that out. Commey looks fantastic, by the way. I just looked at the kind of weigh-in, and he looks absolutely magnificent. He looks menacing. Lopez looked a little bit uncomfortable at the weight. Looked good, but a little bit dry, which I guess you'd have to be. These guys drain themselves of most of their body weight, most of their water weight. I do like Lopez in the fight. I do like him by knockout. I think he stops a tiring Lopez mid to late. Sorry, a tiring Commey mid to late. Or Commey could just put it on him and maybe Lopez breaks under the pressure. I'm very excited to see. Gun to my head, Lopez by KO is my pick. I hope you guys enjoyed the fight. Be sure to check it out. We do have Bud Crawford fighting Mean Machine as the main event. Encourage you to watch that as well, because I feel bad for Crawford. Or as bad as you can feel for a 3-weight undisputed world champion who's also a millionaire. But he definitely wanted that Spence fight, and Spence definitely ducked the hell out of that. So that must be frustrating for him, kind of being isolated and stuck on ESPN. So support the fights if you can. Check them out. You'll enjoy them. And see you next time.